Right, I think we are live, everyone. If I am live, can you let me know down in the comments in the live chat? Um, ah, Copyright claim. I guess let's not run Spotify music. That's obviously not a copyright-free stream if I'm getting copyright claimed already. But thank you very much, guys, for tuning into the stream. I think it's just all loading up. But so effectively today I wanted to talk about CCIV, Neo, Bitcoin, Tesla, AMC. I've obviously got the screen up here just showing the CCIV price chart at the moment, but I've got some favorited stocks on my watch list. So, I mean, if anyone has any queries, we can talk about them. Yeah, if anyone's got any queries, feel free to ask, and I shall go in depth and give you my thoughts on them. The CCIV stock today is obviously down a little bit. It's not really done too much. I suppose recently it hasn't done too much over the last few weeks. Obviously, we saw this run up to $24 and then back down to around the $17, $18 mark, and it seems fairly flat since then. Again, Neo is having a very good day today. Neo's up 5% today, is that? Yeah, 5.49% today, which is good. Looks like there might have been some news that came out around 4 o'clock my time, shortly after the market opened. But Palantir is fairly flat today as well, as is Senseonics and BNGO. AMC is obviously having a very, very good day. Risen from the $12 mark up to that kind of $14.50 mark before coming back down again. This is obviously the highest it's been really since that January explosion. Had this small pullback, but it looks like it's going back up again. Would like to see it really break this kind of $15 mark, because then I think we'd really be back on the run with AMC. Bitcoin's obviously had a good recovery today. It has been struggling the past few days, but it's had a very good recovery all day, really, up 7%. After this, obviously, giant crash back down from the highs of 64,000. Obviously, went to around 60,000, but then it's really crashed down to around the 30,000 area. But I don't think that's too awful. I mean, if you look at this crash back in 2018, it's the same kind of story. We had this huge run up, huge crash down of over like 50% of the value, and then it just traded flat for basically the entire year. So I have to say I foresee something quite similar happening again. We had this huge run up, crash of about 50% of the value. I imagine it would trade around this 30,000 area for some time before going back up again. But let me know what you guys want me to talk about, really. It's a bit of a shame that I couldn't get the music going, but I got copyright claimed, so I might check that out, see what that is about. I wonder what is the Neo news. Neo news. I wonder what the Neo news is today. That is a good deal. Doubling production capacity. Yeah, that is very good for news for Neo. Obviously, they don't manufacture their own vehicles. They outsource it, but that's good that the deal has been extended. this is good that they're going to be manufacturing up to 10,000 vehicles a month. I can take the headphones off actually, as I've not got any sound, but because so far they've been manufacturing 7,000 vehicles per month, and I did say that I really wanted it to see it going up to 10,000 vehicles a month. So if they can get up to 10,000 vehicles a month, it's very promising for NIO. But obviously, I think this is what's restricting NIO at the moment, is the shortage of semiconductors. An ET7 review. This is very promising that NIO have now had the NEDC review. I think the ET7 was originally expected to do 500 and something miles, but it looks like on the NEDC that they're now going to be doing 620 miles, which is obviously above the Lucid Air. If we go to the Lucid Motors website. Yeah, the Lucid has 520 predicted miles of predicted range. So obviously the NIO ET7 having 620 is very good. I'm going to put in here in the comments just to kind of get people asking questions, really. Yeah, I'd really like to answer some of your questions today, whether it's on CCIV, NIO, Lucid Motors, Bitcoin, AMC, anything really. I'm quite open for questions, really. But I'm just going to do some research, I guess, into NIO for the moment. Yeah, it's really good that NIO are offering the car at multiple price points and battery ranges. Obviously, the 70 kilowatt battery, the 100 kilowatt battery, which is what Tesla has really, and the 150 kilowatt, which is obviously their new battery, which does this 620 miles, which is, yeah, very impressive. What is happening with Lucid Motors today? I wonder. How is Tesla doing today as well? Yeah, Tesla's up 3.3%. So it's interesting that Tesla is up, and NIO is up, but CCIV is flat slash down on the day. But again, obviously NIO has seen this, large decline. Or Tesla, sorry, has seen a large decline, as has NIO. It's the same kind of graph, and CCIV is the same kind of graph as well. I suppose you can, kind of ignore this giant spike that CCIV had, but even here, it's fallen from around this $30 to $35 region down to the $20 region. But all of the EV stocks have that similar kind of chart, really, because they all follow the same base pattern outlined by Tesla, really. See what the Infect Street is saying. Oh, they did have the Lucid Air at the auto show recently. Have a look at that as well. Doesn't really look like they have it. Maybe that's a test drive that they did during the show. Do you think there has to be cars on the road for CCIV stock to rise? That is a very good question. Does there have to be cars on the road for CCIV stock to rise? I think for CCIV to be taken seriously, I think there has to be cars on the road. NIO obviously produce thousands and thousands of vehicles each and every month. Tesla produce hundreds of thousands of vehicles. So I think CCIV have to be producing vehicles to be taken seriously. Otherwise, people are going to think that CCIV is another Nikola or another Fisker. But I think once they've started to shift the first few, I think that's when people are going to realise that obviously CCIV is the real deal. Lucid Motors are the real deal, and I do think it's coming up soon. The ticker change to Lucid Motors is going to be happening in June or July, which is obviously very soon, and then the Lucid Air is being released around about the same time, probably in July. So I think they probably do need some vehicles on the road. I don't think Lucid Motors need tens of thousands of vehicles on the road for the stock to start rising, but I do think for them to be taken seriously, that they at least need the first few hundred on the road. And then I think as they start getting that initial production run, the first 600 vehicles out on the road, I think the stock will start climbing back towards the $30 and $40 mark. I think as the general EV industry recovers, as Tesla goes back up to 900, NIO goes back up to the $60 kind of dollar range, CCIV will start making their way back to the $40 range, I think. Yeah, the user experience event on May 26th. Show the calendar. Do you think higher multiple stocks will return to their highs in the next couple of months? Yeah, I think so. I think obviously the market does tend to move in cycles, really, whether that's NIO going up and down, Palantir seeing the same kind of cycle, Senseonics seeing the same cycle, B&Go, all these charts all look exactly the same. Even if you go to some of the bigger stocks, if we look at Apple, that one, again, it still has the same up and down pattern here, and on a larger time frame. Again, had this high and then hasn't the high back in January, which hasn't been seen again since. So the market does move in cycles. Again, even back here, it went up and then back down, obviously as a result of COVID. And I think this is just the market kind of recovering after a very crazy period of 2020. So it's going to trade sideways for a few months and then recover back up again, I think. See, obviously Tesla experienced that same kind of up and downward movement, and is just having the same kind of impact. It almost looks very similar. This kind of 2020 rise and fall looks very, very similar, just on a smaller scale compared to this rise and fall. Do you think it would take a longer term approach? Is that CCIV taking a longer term approach? Lucid Motors? I think Lucid Motors will take a longer term approach. I think they're not going to try and rush production. They're not going to try and rush thousands of vehicles out, because especially if CCIV are sitting in the luxury end of the market, they can't afford to make mistakes. They have to get everything perfect. They have to get everything right. They can't afford to make mistakes, really. Otherwise, you only get one first impression, and especially for a luxurious brand, you wouldn't see, I don't know, Hermes or Lamborghini. Lamborghini would never produce a rubbish car. Lamborghini would never produce a Ford Fiesta and flunk it, because their reputation would be ruined forever. Thoughts on Michael Burry's Tesla short position? That is a very good question. Obviously, if we go to ownership, I think I should be able to find Scion Capital. I can't remember if it's under Scion. Is it Scion Capital 2008? Scion Asset Management, that's the one. We can see Michael Burry has a very large Tesla put. I think the important thing to remember here, let's go to the actual holdings. Yeah, Tesla put, $500 million Tesla put. Now, I think what's important to remember here is his first position took place in Q1 of 2021, and this filing is from May, but it's effectively for the first quarter. So Michael Burry opened a short on Tesla in quarter one, which is going to be somewhere between the 1st of January. Yeah, we're on the Tesla chart, which is going to be somewhere between the 1st of January, which is when Tesla was at, what's that, $730, to the end of March, where Tesla was at $600. So I imagine Michael Burry probably opened his short position somewhere up here when Tesla was at 850, which is obviously a very good position to open a short position on Tesla. If he held it all the way down to here at 540 or here at 550, would have made lots and lots of money. What this doesn't show you is obviously what happened in April or May, or, well, we're not in June yet, but April or May. So Michael Burry might have exited his short position on Tesla now. He might have. So that's obviously where's the 31st of March? 31st of March is here. So he might have exited his short position on Tesla here at the very start of April, or maybe now in May. He might not be trying to ride this down to the $300 mark or the $100 mark. He might have exited his position in Tesla now. He might have even flipped to a long position in Tesla now, waiting to ride the wave back up from $600 back up to $1,000, or $1,200, $1,300 back up to this position. Because I think in the long term, especially, Tesla is going to continue to improve. So Michael opened his short position here, might have closed it here, and might have flipped long, ready for the run up to 1,100 or 1,200. Really. TLT, because he also owns some very large other call options, doesn't he? What is that? TLT. I assume it's this, the 20-year Treasury. Yeah, so Michael Burry also shorted the 20-year Treasury yield around the same kind of time. Which obviously, was that a short? Yeah, it was a short, or a put option. Again, if you open that position at the very start of January here at 156, 157, rode it all the way down to now, very profitable, very profitable. Let's have a look at what Bitcoin is doing today as well. Can pin that message. China announced new mining crackdown. Yeah, I think this is a really interesting point that Mark Cuban makes. I think, some of the best cryptocurrencies, or most well-known cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, the ones that have been around for a long, long time, will continue to do well. But a lot of these cryptocurrencies that are popping up every single day, some coming out over literally the last few days, last few hours, those cryptocurrencies are going to be the ones that get left behind and forgotten. I mean, you can just think back to 2017, 2018, when Bitcoin crashed previously. If I open the Bitcoin chart here and scroll back all the way to 2017, there was tons of other altcoins around in 2017 as well that also felt this giant crash, and most of them all disappeared. Obviously, there are some that stuck around. The big ones, Ripple, Cardano, all of the kind of Monero, the big altcoins back from 2017 did stick around, but all of the ones that were popping up every single day disappeared. And I think a lot of the same is going to happen again. You know, those better platforms like Ethereum, Bitcoin, those that have been around for 5+ years will stick around, but the ones that popped up yesterday and the day before won't stick around. What do I think about Tesla stopping accepting Bitcoin? I think accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment at the moment is very difficult because it's so volatile. Obviously, we can see just by looking at the Bitcoin price just how volatile it is. And for a large business, or for any business, they have money coming into the business and they have money going out of the business. So if they have expenses to make, they need to know how much money is coming into the business to be able to budget. You know, they can't go and buy loads and loads of stock to make vehicles with and then realize all of a sudden that they don't have any cash to pay their suppliers because all of the payment that they just accepted lost 50% of its value. They need something very stable, and at the moment Bitcoin isn't stable. I imagine Tesla could start accepting other forms of cryptocurrency that is more stable, those that are tied to the US dollar. But again, I don't think that's something that Elon wants to do, you know, like Tether or USDT or some other currencies that are tied to the dollar would be more stable and predictable for Elon to be able to then order future stock for future vehicles. But accepting something like Bitcoin is just too volatile for him to be able to accurately budget vehicles that he needs to, you know, the parts that he needs to purchase for the vehicles. You know, if you're selling 1,000 vehicles up here, you're getting a vastly different amount of cash to selling 1,000 vehicles down here, which then means that you'll only be able to manufacture half as many vehicles next time. Would the competitive real estate market today hurt or help real estate stocks? Obviously a very good question as well, slightly different to stocks, but more than happy to answer. I think that's a tough one, and I think it depends what kind of stock we're talking about. If it's a stock like Redfin, or you know, a UK markets app like Rightmove or Zoopla, then I think it's going to be very beneficial to them because they're going to have so many more properties through their platform, which is going to enable them to grow. But I think for some other real estate stocks that prefer a much flatter market and prefer to just generate rental income, might hurt them because obviously the properties that they would be able to buy in a flat or falling market, they're not going to be able to buy in a very competitive rising market because there's going to be so many more buyers out there for each property. So they're not going to be able to get those good deals because there's going to be so many buyers looking for a property, because especially when the real estate market is rising, everyone thinks they can make lots of money in real estate. So all of a sudden, everyone and their dog wants to go and buy real estate, which obviously takes up the amount of good deals that are in the market. Do you have plans to make a how to pick a stock video? If that's something you guys want to see, I would absolutely be happy to make a video like that. If you guys want to know how to pick a stock or how I pick a stock, yeah, I'd absolutely be happy to make a video like that. I mean, I'll explain my background into how I pick a stock at the moment. I guess it's difficult to decide between initially whether you want to pick a large blue chip stock or a smaller growth stock. Obviously, blue chip stocks are out there everywhere. You see them on the news, on the TV. If you want to pick a growth stock, they're harder to find because obviously the fact that it's a much smaller company and a growth stock, it is more difficult to find and not covered nearly as much. In terms of how you go about finding a smaller growth stock to invest in, is Twitter and YouTube are obviously very good platforms to do research on them and find them in the first place. And then performing your own due diligence using a lot of websites that I have them in my favorites bar, but you can't really see them, but Yahoo Finance, to learn what the stock has been doing recently and look at their overall chart. Seeking Alpha, which is a website that you can use to see the news stories that are being written about stocks and people that are following the stocks, like analysts, Open Insider, to see the insider buying. Open Insider is a really good website because you can type in just the stock ticker and it will tell you if any of the insiders are buying or selling. Obviously, if I go to Tesla, for example, you can see a lot of the people at Tesla are just selling their additional stock. Whale Watcher or Whale Wisdom to see other funds holdings. So a really good way to find growth stocks would be to search for like an ARK Innovation ETF to see what kind of stocks they're buying into, and then you can obviously do your own research on these stocks and see if they're something that matches what you like to buy. But I could definitely do a video that expands more on that in the future. Hello Thomas, do you see CCIV to have the same share price as Tesla in 5 years? Great question. I think firstly, we need to establish by what you mean by the same stock price as Tesla in 5 years. Because I don't think that in 5 years' time, Tesla is going to be $603 a share. Obviously, if we go back 5 years, if I go to like a weekly chart, if I go back 5 years to 2017, 2016, the Tesla stock was at $45 a share and then rose up to $600 a share. So I think in 5 years, Tesla could be $3,000 a share, for example. I think CCIV in 5 years could definitely be around $600 a share, if not even more. I think in the next 5 years, between 2021 and 2026, CCIV will grow quicker than Tesla did between 2016 and 2021 because the technology is more out there. EV technology is established now. Back in 2016, EV technology wasn't established, so it was difficult for Tesla to grow. Tesla had to really pioneer all of that invention of battery technology, whereas CCIV don't necessarily have to pioneer that technology. They just have to scale it and grow. Any advice to new investors who are entering the crypto market in these market conditions? Do lots of research. I think, especially at the moment, when the crypto market is doing this, to be honest, you don't need to do research. Like, as long as you don't buy a very obvious pump and dump scam that the owners are going to get rid of in 3 days, you can pretty much buy any cryptocurrency and make a lot of money. Obviously, if you bought Bitcoin back in November, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, any cryptocurrency out there in November, up until 3 weeks ago, you would have made lots and lots of money unless it was an obvious scam coin. I think in these market conditions, it's a lot more difficult, and you really have to do that research and not just buy a coin because it's got a cool name or buy a coin because everyone else is buying the coin. You need to do research in terms of what the cryptos or what the founders of that crypto, what their plans are for the future. Are they going to make a platform, or are they going to release a coin that consumes less energy than Bitcoin or has lower transaction fees? Obviously, Ethereum came around because they could charge less transaction fees at the time. Because the usage of Ethereum has gone up now so significantly, the transaction fee for Ethereum is very, very high. So if a new cryptocurrency could come out that could vastly undercut the Ethereum transaction cost, they would be very successful, or vastly undercut the amount of energy consumed compared to Bitcoin would be very successful. Or if they can make it more usable in the real world and less volatile, is very difficult to do because it's not a regulated space. But something that has actual tangible advantages over Bitcoin or tangible advantages over Ethereum are the kind of cryptocurrencies that you want to be investing in, I think, rather than just picking a cryptocurrency with a good name or a cryptocurrency that is all over Twitter or all over the news, if that makes sense. looking at the price of and I think what I mean in terms of, especially with Doge or with Shiba Inu, let's get up the Shiba Inu price as well. Shiba Inu price, probably on CoinMarketCap. These kind of cryptos are driven very heavily by hype. You could see obviously the hype around Shiba Inu was absolutely massive, but now as this hype starts to die down and there's not as many news stories and there's not as many Twitter posts, the price dies down with it. Same with Dogecoin. It went absolutely crazy because Elon was tweeting about it 5 times a day and the price went absolutely crazy. But now that Elon's almost changed his stance and doesn't want to accept cryptocurrency, the hype around it is dying down. But for example, with Bitcoin, it's not necessarily driven entirely on hype. It's had a much slower increase throughout 2020 and therefore hasn't experienced much of a drop as some of the other cryptocurrencies out there, because Bitcoin has those actual fundamentals underneath them rather than just solely being driven by how many people are posting about it. Like, I'm sure there's a direct relationship between the number of Twitter posts and the speed at which Dogecoin or Shiba Inu rises. If there's 50,000 Twitter posts in one day, the price is going to go crazy. But if there's only 1,000 Twitter posts, the price is not going to crash, but it's going to go down quite substantially. Thomas, do you think the current mainstream car manufacturers like BMW, Ford, Mercedes may kill off Lucid, Neo, and other emerging EVs? Personally, no. And the reason why I think this is because BMW, Ford, and Mercedes are so stuck in their ways, similar to how Blockbuster was, or similar to how Nokia was when they were trying to race Apple at having the best mobile phone, or Motorola. Motorola, sold 10 times as many phones as Apple did back in the day. But because the management of those companies is so corporate, and I don't want to say old, because there are some very intelligent older people out there, but because the management are very stuck in their ways, they don't adapt to what happens in the future. Blockbuster didn't adapt and got wiped out by Netflix. Nokia and Motorola didn't adapt to touchscreen phones and faster operating systems and got wiped out by Apple and Samsung. And when these companies don't adapt, they do get left in dust. So I don't think that BMW, Ford, and Mercedes are going to wipe out CCIV and Neo, because if anything, I think BMW, Mercedes, and then Ford and Audi are going to get left behind a bit because their structure is so corporate that they can't push those decisions through. If Mercedes decided that they wanted to go all in on EVs, they wouldn't be able to do that in the space of 3 days that CCIV or Neo would. It would take them, it takes them 5 or 10 years to start going all in on EVs, because the structure is so corporate and so slow and so stuck in their ways that they just don't make those changes fast enough. Do you think the lawsuit against CCIV will heavily affect the stock price? I think there's a lot of CCIV lawsuits out there at the moment. If we just type in CCIV lawsuit, because there's a few, isn't there, of just general class actions, and then the one with the state, I think not Michigan, that was against Tesla. The Illinois want to ban the sale of CCIVs because they're not selling through motor dealers. There's quite a few lawsuits going on at the moment. I don't think those are going to significantly impact the price of the stock, because I don't think those lawsuits are a big deal to the stock. How do I explain what that means? Because, how do I explain what that means? People are so interested in suing companies nowadays that anyone starts a lawsuit left, right, and centre, and very few of those lawsuits actually go through to court, and actually people end up losing in court very rarely. Those lawsuits take 3 to 5 to 10 years to get resolved, and especially of something like this where a stock price has just fallen and class action lawsuits are jumping up, those often never go in the way of the class action lawsuit, because a lot of those lawsuits are done on like a no win no fee basis, as in the lawyer accepts the case on and doesn't charge the customer any fees if they lose. So all the customers just all dive in because it's a free lawsuit, and they get money if the lawsuit wins, and they don't have to pay money if the lawsuit doesn't win. So it's so easy for people to raise those lawsuits and sue people nowadays that everyone's doing it, and it will take 3 to 5 years for it to be heard in court and a judgment to be passed, and it will be passed in favour of CCIV anyway, so I don't think it's going to significantly affect the price. No. Thomas, do you think we've entered a bear market as opposed to a bear cycle in crypto? I think when you say bear cycle, you mean just a shorter term kind of price drop and then a quick recovery. And by a bear market, you mean like a longer term price suppression, like we saw back in 2017, 2018, where obviously it was a bear market for the entire of 2018 up until kind of, 2019. It then traded flat largely, and it was only until 2020, 2021 that we started rising upwards. Yeah, I personally do think we've entered a bear market in crypto as opposed to a bear cycle. Why do I say that? Because back in 2017, 2018, on this run up, everybody was posting about Bitcoin in the news, in Twitter. Everyone had that hype all going around. And then when the price started coming down, everyone lost that hype. You can't really see it now, but I think what I relate it to is if you go on YouTube and look at Stockmo, obviously a very big stock YouTuber, back in December and January, he was getting 200,000 views on every single video because everyone was obsessed with stocks. But now in May and April, he's been getting 30,000 views a video because 70% of people that invested in stocks have given up. They lost their money. They've taken their money out. They're back to their 9-to-5 job. They don't like stocks anymore. And I think the same thing happened here in crypto. Everyone was giving up their jobs. Everyone was trading crypto full time. And then as it came back down, everyone forgot about crypto. And you can see that on the volume scale as well. You can see all this volume going really, really crazy high here. And the volume just absolutely dies out here for the rest of 2018 because everyone forgot about it. And I think something similar is going to happen with this time around as well now, because the volume was very low here. Not many people were talking about Bitcoin back in April of 2020. Went really high here and has been really high, but I do think the volume is going to drop off here now because I think the hype is starting to die down on crypto. It'll be something I'm going to do is keep an eye on how many views on YouTube crypto's getting. It'll be really interesting to see how it fares the next few months, whether these views do stay at the 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 views per video mark, or whether the views start declining on YouTube. I think that's a really good way to gauge the sentiment. If the amount of views are falling rapidly and the posts on Twitter are falling rapidly, then the price tends to fall rapidly as well. So look at what Tesla's doing today. Tesla. Because Tesla is having a very good day today. Very good day today. New Tesla factory in Russia. It'd be very interesting. I imagine this is what's caused the Tesla spike to start going up due to Wells Fargo analyst prediction. Quite interesting here, fine in Norway. 16,000 per customer is a lot of money as well. For slowing down charging speeds. That's really interesting. That's something that Apple was doing, wasn't it, with the iPhones? They were slowing down the charging speeds of their old iPhones and slowing down the battery size or battery power holdings of the old iPhones to kind of encourage you to buy the new ones. 2019 software update was found to have affected the battery life in Tesla Model S between 2013 and 2015. See, I imagine this is more of a an accident or an oversight though, because back in 2013 to 2015, Tesla weren't coming out with new vehicles to try and encourage customers to buy new vehicles, were they? So I imagine that's probably more of an oversight or a mistake rather than purposely slowing down charging speeds. Everyone be sure to drop a like down below as well on the stream, because the more likes that we get on the stream, the more people it pushes out to, and then the more people we can get in the chat and the more questions we can get going as well. Up one of those as well. This is really interesting that Tesla dissolved its PR department last year. I guess to cut costs during COVID. If anyone's got any questions as well, feel free to leave those in the chat and I shall answer. That is kind of what I want to do today, is answer your guys' questions. If there's a specific stock you want me to look at, or a specific cryptocurrency you want me to look at or talk about, feel free to leave it in the comments as well. Yeah, Ethereum's recovered very nicely today, whereas Bitcoin's regained 8%, Ethereum's regained 20%. 2000. It looks like Ethereum had a slightly sharper drop, losing over 50%. Obviously, between 4,400 and 1,700 is a very large drop, but it has recovered quite nicely so far on the day. Yeah, very nicely. Very nice recovery on Ethereum. I wonder if AMC had some specific news today. Let's see. Interesting. AMC's former owner and largest shareholder unloaded most of their stake. It's a good time to unload lots of AMC shares if you've been holding them for since a very, very low price. I wonder if I go to Wall Street. Let's go to the top post for today. Wow. SPCE had a lot of attention today. SPCE has been doing very well today, actually, as well. It was one of the highest movers in the pre-market. Yeah, had a very large gap from $21 up to $25. It's been fairly low since the open, obviously, just fairly flat since the open. It's a lot of volume on SPCE. Virgin. Stop. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to leave them in the live chat, and we can talk about it. Jumps after a successful space flight test. For the next stream, I'm going to try and find some copyright-free music. I tried going for a playlist on Spotify that was apparently copyright-free, but I ended up getting a copyright claim as soon as I did a test live stream and got a copyright claim straight away. So I've just decided to not play any music for this stream, but for next stream I'll try and sort out some actual music so we can have some background music as well. Very interesting. In the current market, would you recommend I invest in blue chip stocks, growth stocks, or crypto? Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't personally recommend any of those. I think it also depends on it does depend on your appetite to risk. Crypto obviously is very volatile. Now, I guess, is a good time to invest in crypto because there are cryptos that have seen very, very large drops. Maybe not today. I do think crypto as a whole is going to be entering a bear market and trading largely sideways. I think in terms of the least risky option is obviously going to be blue chip stocks, stocks like Apple or Amazon, because those are stocks that are going to continue to rise over time. Obviously, you are going to make small returns, but it's going to be the least risky. But I mean, saying that, even if we look at Amazon, it's traded pretty much flat since July last year. So yeah, not very high returns. But it depends on your attitude to risk. There are going to be some cryptos out there that are going to have very good days, like Ethereum is having today, gaining 20% in one single day. But there are going to be cryptos out there that lose lots of money. Case in point, every crypto over the last week. I think crypto especially is a lot of timing and luck of getting in at a good point and carrying the run, really. What has SHIB been doing today? SHIB is actually up quite a lot on the day. It's still around that 0.00001 mark. Yeah, the volume is maybe a small downtrend on Shiba Inu, but largely flat for the moment. But I think, case in point, you can see the volume on Shiba Inu has dropped off a lot since those mid-May highs. CCIV looks promising, but are there still things to watch out for as a beginner investor? Absolutely. I would never have all of your money in one place just because there are so many things that you can't predict with anything. I mean, take Nikola, for example. Obviously, now in hindsight, we know that Nikola was not a good company to invest in and did not have actual trucks. But if you rewind to early last year when they were going through the SPAC process, you never would have known that everything was a lie. When the video came out of the Nikola one going down the hill, if you watched that video within the first 10 seconds after it came out, you would have thought it was brilliant and bought more shares. And only then, weeks and weeks and months later, did people realise that actually it was being pushed down the hill, not driving down the hill, and bits and pieces like that. So people that start companies with the intention of being fraudulent aren't going to come out and say straight away, look guys, here's a fraudulent company, can everyone invest into it? They're going to very, very, very cleverly disguise that company is fraudulent, and you would never know that it was until it comes out. Obviously, CCIV and Lucid Motors have been very, very open, showing their vehicles moving and driving on their own, showing the physical vehicles in all of Peter's interviews. He's always standing right next to and goes over and touches the physical Lucid Motors car and never has it on a green screen. But there's always things that could come out about stock that you don't know about, because hindsight is 2020. Obviously, once it's happened, it's easy to know that it's happened, but you can't predict something like that happening in the future. There's, Tesla get fines and stuff that you can never predict, and that affects the stock. And same with any stock, you can't ever predict it. So I'd never have all of your money in one basket, never have all of your eggs in one basket. But I also think CCIV looks very promising. I think the entire EV industry looks very promising at the moment, especially with how much Tesla have run up over the past year, and how I think the world is now starting to get more on board with the thought of climate change and switching to electric vehicles. So yeah, I do think the whole kind of green energy sector over the next few years is going to increase a lot. I think especially the amount of data that governments around the world will have gathered over the past year in COVID lockdowns and in pandemic lockdowns, all that data that's going to be seen of, pollution levels rapidly decreasing and what impact that had on like ice caps and bits and pieces. All of the governments around the world are going to realize, oh, actually, hang on, when we had those lockdowns, pollution was really low. The world actually started to get a bit better or didn't decline as rapidly. We need to push heavier on green energy, and we need to push heavier on EVs and bits and pieces like that. So yeah, I do think the EV industry is very, very promising over the next few years. Yeah, it's had a very good day today. I guess we need to see how the rest of the week plays out for NIO, whether this is going to be the start of the recovery or whether it's just another fake out like we've seen so many times before hitting new lower prices. If you've got any comments, guys, be sure to leave them down in the live chat, and we can talk about it and answer any of your questions that you've got, whether it's a CCIV question or question on cryptocurrency or on AMC or Tesla or anything really. Happy to answer anyone's questions. Let's look at the AMC stock. AMC stock. I want to read about that. Wonder Group. Do I think AMC will push past its January highs? Also a very good question. Let's pull up the daily chart to look at those highs. I think it's difficult. I think there's so many different points of view about shares being in the dark pools and how the short squeeze could still happen because the amount of shares that are short still aren't being reported on properly and are going to need to be, the calls are going to need to be exercised and bits and pieces like that. Whether that has any actual fact and proof behind it is hard to quantify because obviously they don't know if it's being reported properly. I think maybe there is a chance that there is still a technical short squeeze that might happen based on amount of shares short that need to be, call options that need to be exercised, and the companies that are short on share, that are short the AMC stock need to buy it back and give it to the people with those call options. Maybe there's a chance that a technical short squeeze could still happen, but I think the main reason why this January short squeeze happened around here was because of the sheer amount of hype around the AMC stock and the GME stock. Obviously the Wall Street Bets Reddit went from 100k members to now having 10.2 million members. And it was that hype that really pushed AMC and GME to levels not seen before. Do we have that same amount of hype right now? No, of course we don't. You can see on the volume bars, look at how much volume is here in January compared to how much volume is here. Obviously, we do have a lot more volume than was here around the $8 to $9 mark, and that's why the price has gone up, because we've got a lot more volume back, but we don't have that same kind of volume that there was around here. If the stock ends up all over Twitter and all over the news again, then that volume, massive volume, will come back and the price will go higher. In the longer term, I do think AMC is going to start to recover though. If you start looking back on the really long term chart for AMC, they were a very successful company with a stock price around here in the $36 region. Obviously they've had share issues and bits and pieces that's diluted the amount of shares in issue, but a large reason why this stock fell so much was during the pandemic and I guess the year before, they just weren't up to their normal operating standard, and you saw that by looking at their results. They were making losses for the year. But I think as the world kind of comes out of that pandemic mode and starts going to the cinema again, they are going to start becoming profitable. I think a lot of people out there are going to be not take for granted their freedom, and they're going to go to the cinema more often. Maybe before, back in 2019, people would have just stayed at home on a weekend to chill out, whereas I think now people are going to not take staying at home for granted, and they're going to go out and do stuff. They're going to go to the cinema every week, for example. So companies like AMC are going to make a lot more money. And obviously when companies are profitable and make more money, then the stock tends to go up as well. DB, Sup Thomas, any news on CCIV? We were talking about CCIV for a little bit earlier. There's not any significant news really. The best way actually is probably going to be to Lucid Motors. In terms of Lucid Motors, obviously the merger's going to close in Q3. I think there was an Inside EV review of the car, and obviously on the 26th of May we've got a new viewing experience. There's not any groundbreaking news. An exclusive demo ride with Derek Jenkins. This was yesterday. The car is really luxurious, high quality, well put together. Offers outstanding acceleration, and it stands out as one of the quickest EVs on the market. And I think this point here of it being well put together is really important, and that's why Lucid Motors haven't released their car just yet, is because they're trying to focus on getting it absolutely perfect. Because in the car market and the luxury car market and the luxury anything market, you have to hit that great impression first time. You don't get a second chance to make a good impression. If you think of Lamborghini, they aren't going to release a rubbish car that doesn't go fast and doesn't look nice because it'd ruin their reputation forever. Same with Louis Vuitton or Hermes. They're not going to release an ugly looking bag that falls apart because their reputation will be ruined, especially in that luxury market. The reputation has to be perfect, so they have to really focus on getting that vehicle as well put together as they physically can to be a successful company. This is quite interesting. The range indicator on the Lucid Air showed 219 miles remaining, even though they had less than half charge. So obviously double that is 440. And if it had less than half charge, then it should do around 500 miles. I guess we just need to see if this 219 is accurate, which we'll find out soon enough when the official range estimates get released. I'm also going to check on Twitter. This is the guy that does the Lucid Motors catalysts. Yeah, so I think this one's now happened. A charitable event. The Lucid user experience is going to be really interesting over the next few days. This one will be quite interesting as well, the final EPA mileage announcement. This is obviously starting to happen now, as Inside EVs have had their first drive of the car. I think as more of the bigger media outlets get a hold of this car and start to review it, like Car Wow and Top Gear and bits and pieces like that, it's going to become much more in the public eye. Lucid Motors are going to be much more in the public eye. And I think as a result of that, more people are going to learn about the stock and invest in the stock as well. This is the first time I've seen you on live. Is this new on the channel? Yeah, absolutely. This is my first live stream. Just taking it easy and seeing how it goes. I'm enjoying my time on the live stream. It'd be nice to rack up some more viewers because then we can have some more questions. So hopefully, as my channel expands, the live stream starts expanding a bit more as well. Maybe I can try and advertise it a little bit more as well and get some more people in here and some more questions. But we'll see how it goes over the next few live streams. I'm going to try and focus on doing some more live streams, more regular live streams, maybe 2 a week or something like that. So I think the more live streams I do, hopefully the more people keep coming back to tune in, and we can get some more questions. I won't miss the Bitcoin dip tonight. Let's have a look at how Bitcoin is doing. Go back to the minute chart. Oops. Yeah, Bitcoin's been trading fairly flat over the last few hours, but obviously did have a good run up this morning. He's starting to do well on the recovery, I think. If we go back to the daily chart, it's obviously had a bad few days, but could potentially be turning around today and starting to recover. Obviously, Bitcoin's had a good day today, up 8%. Maybe it's going to start to recover, but I personally think we're kind of entering more of a bear market as the hype around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general is starting to slow down. Obviously a few weeks ago you had Gary Vee tweeting about NFTs every single day, whereas that's started to calm down now a bit more. So I think the general hype around cryptocurrency is starting to dissolve. Do I think Bitcoin will rebound in the near term, or do you think it'd be a good idea to lock in some profit? It's a tough one. I think obviously if you wanted to lock in profit, it would have been nice to lock in profit around the $60,000 mark rather than the $30,000 or $40,000 mark. I don't see it going down much further from here, to be honest. It's already had a 50% drop, but I do expect it to kind of trade flat for a while. I think if you go back to 2018, 2017, I think we're having something similar here. Obviously, we had this crazy run up. We've had these big big red candles, and I think we're going to largely maybe trade flat for a while until the hype comes back, whenever that may be. But I think largely on the whole, yeah, for the moment, I think the hype around Bitcoin is starting to slow down, definitely. I mean, yeah. I'm looking into buying a clean energy ETF for the long-term holding. Any recommendations? There is one. I have an ETF. I can't remember what it is. Let me have a quick look. Which energy ETF do I have? I have Global Clean Energy INRG. Let's put it up on screen. This is the one that I have. Is it the iShares 10? Not that one. That's the Italian one, I think. INRG. Yeah, this is the one I have. The iShares Global Clean Energy ETF. Obviously, we saw it have a very large run up throughout 2020, largely driven by Tesla, and then obviously a big drop back down in 2021, largely driven by Tesla. I think usually the way ETFs are set up is to weight the amount of investment more heavily towards the larger stocks. So, for example, of 100% worth of this ETF, maybe like 20% of that investment is going to be in Tesla, but only 0.5% is going to be in CCIV, for example, and 3% is going to be in NEO, depending on how big of a market cap the company has. There is usually a larger investment in those companies. So I think regardless of what ETF you buy in the clean energy sector, the largest holding in that ETF is probably going to be Tesla based on the size of the company. And I think to some extent, there's not ever going to be much difference between the iShares Clean Energy ETF and a Vanguard Clean Energy ETF and a BlackRock Clean Energy ETF. It's all largely going to have very similar companies in there. Tesla is probably going to be the number one holding in all of the ETFs, for example. But I do think a clean energy ETF is a good investment to make over the next few years, because I do think clean energy is going to be so important as the years go by. I think I don't really know what was happening here. Maybe that was when the ETF was getting started. But obviously, if you look at where the ETF has moved since 2013, obviously it's had a very good increase, especially around the 2019 and 2020 period, as a lot of those clean energy stocks like Tesla are getting more and more on the map. I've arrived now. What are the predictions? Depends what prediction you want to hear. For CCIV, I guess over the next few years, obviously, I do expect CCIV to go much, much, much higher over the next 3 to 5 years, let's say. Over the next 1 to 2 months, probably not really do too much until the Lucid Air is actually released. If the Lucid Air is well received by the reviewers and by the customers, and there aren't any crazy problems like the car setting on fire, then I do think the stock's going to start recovering back towards that $35 to $40 mark. I think that's what Lucid Motors and CCIV really need to start driving the stock price back up, is to get that car out on the road. NIO produced thousands of vehicles, Tesla produced hundreds of thousands of vehicles. CCIV, obviously, Lucid Motors don't produce anything. So I think for the stock to be taken seriously, and for people not to think that CCIV is just another Nikola, Lucid Motors need to get that car out there and in the hands of customers and in the hands of the press, to get good reviews, to get it on the news, to get that customer attention, and to make Lucid Motors an everyday name. If you want to know my prediction for Tesla, obviously I know Michael Burry is heavily short Tesla at the moment, but I think that's also important to realise when the filings were made. Michael Burry opened his short position somewhere between the 1st of January, where Tesla was at $700, and the 31st of March, where Tesla was at $620. So probably somewhere up here at the $880, $850, $900 mark. And it doesn't show what Michael Burry has done since the 1st of April. So maybe he's closed out of his Tesla short here, and maybe he's now flipped into a Tesla long. I don't think Tesla is going to be a decreasing stock, because I do think green energy is something that's even more in the mind now of governments and politicians, because they've got so much data from the pandemic to see the pollution levels reducing, and how that's benefited the world, and how the world needs to push more towards green energy and EVs. For my prediction for Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin is starting to enter and the cryptocurrency space as a whole is starting to enter the bear market, because the hype around cryptocurrency is starting to die out. Obviously, between December and January, February time, March time, everyone under the sun was tweeting about cryptocurrency. Any kind of, even A-list celebrities were talking about cryptocurrency. YouTube celebrities were talking about cryptocurrency and starting their own cryptocurrency or starting their own NFT. Whereas, April, May, all that chat has disappeared. I do think Bitcoin obviously does have those fundamentals behind it in terms of being a decentralized currency, but a lot of the newer cryptocurrencies that aren't anything new, they're kind of just off the back of the Bitcoin hype. I do think those cryptocurrencies are solely trading on hype, and as the hype dies out for those and for all cryptocurrency, a lot of those newer ones are going to be falling rapidly because the hype is disappearing. If you've got any specific questions, guys, be sure to leave them in the chat, and I shall answer any specific questions that you've got, or give any specific predictions on any specific stocks. Guys, if you haven't already as well, be sure to leave a like down below on the stream. Getting more likes on the stream helps kind of push it out on YouTube's algorithm, and more people will see the stream. And I'll have more questions and more stuff to talk about. So I think Tesla will return to the $800 mark, given more and more competition is coming on the market. If so, when do we think it will start going back up? Will Tesla return to the $800 mark soon, given more competition? I think more competition is going to be good for Tesla. I think more companies entering the EV space, more large car companies like Mercedes, like BMW, like Audi taking the EV space more seriously is going to be good for Tesla, because it's going to help getting EVs into more and more of a household name. You see more and more Tesla Model S's and Tesla Model 3s on the road every single day, because obviously they are doing well. And seeing more of those Model 3s is going to make more people buy an EV. A lot of the other big companies as well, like Mitsubishi, Volkswagen, are also starting to move more towards EVs. And obviously getting more EVs on the road is only going to push more and more people towards Tesla. When do I think we start to see a recovery is, I guess, hard. No one can really predict exactly when a stock is going to recover. But obviously Michael Burry shorted Tesla probably somewhere in this January to March region around here. And I imagine we'll be closing his Tesla short position somewhere around here. I don't imagine he's going to hold it on much longer. I don't really imagine the Tesla stock is going to fall much more. It might trade sideways for a while before going back up. But I think on the whole, governments are going to have collected so much data as a result of the pandemic in terms of how good green energy is, in terms of when the world was in lockdown, how much pollution reduced. And I think that's going to drive politicians pushing more towards EVs, like the US EV plan, or the US green incentive, where they're going to be pushing billions and billions into green energy and EVs. So that's obviously only going to benefit Tesla. And I think, Saudi Arabia have got their own green energy initiative. And I think it won't be long before the majority of Europe and UK also come up with their own green energy initiatives, to push more and more people towards that green energy. What are my opinions on Cathie Woods' ETFs? I think Cathie's getting a lot of stick in the media recently, because she is a very heavily based growth investor. But I think anyone that is a growth investor is probably also getting stick in the media at the moment, because growth stocks have taken a pounding. Obviously, the market moves in cycles. The market goes up and the market goes down. Throughout 2020, we saw the market go up very heavily. Growth stocks benefit the most in an up market and are hit the hardest in a down market, because they're growth stocks. They're small, they're volatile. When the market is good, growth stocks do very, very well, which is what Cathie Woods invests in. And when the market is not doing so well, growth stocks are hit the hardest. I think personally, I'm more of a growth investor as well. So I do think Cathie Woods is spot on really with her ETF choices. She monitors them well, adds new stocks. There's some investments of hers that I don't necessarily agree with, like Roblox and Coinbase, buying them on IPO day, especially in a bear market. Buying something on IPO day is never a great idea, because stocks are hyped up so much around that IPO day that after the IPO day, especially in a bear market, they will start dying. But I understand that she had to buy those on IPO day because they fit her investment criteria, so therefore had to be added to the ETF. CCIV is trading flat today. Neo's having a good day today. Neo had some good news. Let's go back to that. Yeah, Neo recently doubled its production, which is why Neo's having a good day today. With Tesla having more competition, will that not dilute their share prices as more and more EVs will be made, especially as that's their niche? More and more EVs are definitely going to be made, which is going to dilute their holdings of the overall market. But I think it's going to be good for Tesla, because the overall market is going to increase in size. 1% of a million is better than 10% of 1,000. So I think it's going to be beneficial for Tesla having more competition because it's going to get more customers to the overall EV sector. Seeing loads of subscriber pop-ups. I guess that must be YouTube pushing through recent subscribers. What the new? Yeah, it's interesting that the previous largest shareholder of AMC sold out of their position. 2012 was a interesting time to buy AMC because obviously that was probably when AMC was doing its best. Since then, the cinema industry has been declining because Netflix and other kind of at-home cinema companies have been rising rapidly. So I imagine Wonder probably lost a good chunk of their initial investment or a good chunk of their investment. If there's any GameStop news. Are there any stocks I'd suggest specifically for June? Also a very good question. I think it's quite. Let me quickly just check on the what stocks have been doing well recently. There's nothing too much on the top gainers. It's hard to say in terms of stocks that do well for June. I think especially in the market that we're currently in, where the market doesn't really know what it's doing. It's been trading quite flat for a few months now, especially looking at CCIV. It's just been slowly declining. Neo's been slowly declining. Palantir has been slowly declining. Senseonics, BNGO, pretty much all growth stocks, especially out there, have been slowly declining. So right now, if that slow decline continues, growth stocks probably aren't the stocks that we want to buy for June. Maybe some of the larger stocks out there, the blue chip stocks that are a bit more stationary and slower gaining, might be best for June if this downward trend continues in the growth sector. We look at Intel, which is the one that has. No, is it that one? Yeah, this is Finviz. So this is obviously the wider sector. Obviously today technology is having a very good day. Interesting, the finance industry is doing well. The real estate industry is doing well. I'm trying to think of what. I think it's utilities that have been doing really well over the past few months. What about financials? Let's have a look at Visa and MasterCard. Yeah, so Visa's obviously been doing well. In the time that growth stocks have slumped, Visa's gained 10% from January, up from $200 to $220. MasterCard has a similar story. MasterCard's gone from 330 to 370, so it's gained kind of 10% as well. What about JP Morgan? Has done very well as well, gaining kind of 20% in the last few months. So maybe the finance industry could be worthwhile staying in. Exxon. So let's have a look at some of these commercial utility stocks. ExxonMobil again, yeah, has done very well over the last few months. Around this kind of $40 region to the $60 region, which is like a 50% gain. That's very good. CVX. Yeah, again, Chevron has gone from $88 to $105. So that's it. Energy, oil and gas industry, and financial industries, I think, is what's been doing well recently over the last few months. So obviously, if the kind of tech sector continues to not do too well in June, then it might be best to just stay in the kind of financial and oil and gas industries for the moment. How is Google and Facebook? Yeah, Google has done well. So there are some tech stocks, Facebook as well. There are some tech stocks that have been doing well, but obviously the growth stocks as a whole obviously haven't been doing too well. Bitcoin's starting to push up a bit more now, obviously with a little bit more volume, up 10% now today instead of just 8%. Be interesting to see if we can push back to this high of day around the 38, 39 region. Ethereum has also pushed through their high of day on Ethereum. Back up to 25, 26, 2500, 2600 region. For beginners, what would you put down as an initial investment, and how would you recommend getting started? Good question. Definitely don't put down anything more than you're willing to lose. I think it's really important to not put too much money in. If you start getting emotional and worried about losing your investment, you probably put too much in. So yeah, really don't put too much in at all. And how would I recommend getting started? Just doing lots of research on YouTube. Learn different investing methods. Pick how you want to invest, whether you want to solely invest in blue chip stocks or growth stocks or crypto, or whether there's certain industries that you want to invest in, whether it's oil and gas or financial or tech, and track companies and research them and figuring out what companies are going to be doing well in the future, really. Guys, if everyone could chuck a like down below on the stream, that'd be much appreciated, as more likes on the stream helps YouTube push it out to more people and get more people in the stream to chat and ask questions. I bought 10 shares of AMC today. Any shares is better than no shares. AMC's obviously had a very good run the last few days, especially today. It'll be really interesting to see if AMC can get back over this high around the kind of $14.60. What was the high of this chart, this candle actually? Yeah. 1467 was the high. If you can get over that 1467 area and also the mental barrier around like the $15 mark, I think it really could start pushing back towards this kind of $16 area, $17 area. Obviously, buying AMC at this kind of level is riskier because it has further to fall downwards than it potentially has to go upwards. Obviously, buying it around the $14 region, it could fall down here to the $6 region or could go back up to the $20 region. But obviously here you only have a $6 gain, whereas down here you've got an $8 loss. But obviously there's no time like the present as well. Hindsight is always 2020. It would have been lovely to buy my entire life savings of AMC around the $2 mark, but I didn't do that. So Polygon. Let's have a look at Polygon. This Polygon, or whether Polygon stock. Polygon crypto rather than Polygon stock. I assume. So obviously the Polygon crypto had a very big run up around the same kind of time as the Shiba Inu coin. Yeah, crypto, yeah. Had a very big run up around the same kind of time as the Shiba Inu drop, similar to the Shiba Inu drop, and then back up as well. Is Polygon a... Yeah, it's an Ethereum based contract, so it's obviously on the same kind of chain as Shiba Inu, rather than being a Binance Smart Chain contract. The transaction price of Ethereum based contracts is obviously still very high at the moment, but I imagine it's come down quite a bit actually. Let's Ethereum gas prices. Yeah, the Ethereum gas prices are down quite a lot, which is good. It's now only $50 to make a Uniswap swap rather than $300 to make a Unicorn swap, Uniswap swap, which is good. Let's have a look at their white paper. Polygon crypto network. It's up 120% today as Bitcoin is stagnating. Why is that? Bitcoin's obviously had a good day today, nowhere near on the same level as Polygon, obviously, but it has had a good day of 10%. I'm just going to quickly have a look at the built by developers for developers. Ethereum has limitations. It does. Solution is building connecting networks. They have a very professional website, and it looks well thought out. The reason why Polygon will have been going up, whereas Bitcoin is more stagnant. Let's have a look at the. So I guess it's the Matic ticker. I wonder if I can search for that. But I imagine the reason why Polygon is probably going up so substantially today is because of the hype around the coin. There's obviously a lot of tweets, 46 minutes, 48 minutes, 14 minutes, every kind of multiple tweets an hour, and especially if I go to latest. Multiple tweets every single minute, 34 seconds, 32 seconds, 29 seconds, 28 seconds. Obviously, there's a lot of hype around the Polygon coin at the moment. Everyone is tweeting about it. And because of that reach, this person has 2,000 followers that are going to see this tweet about Polygon. This person has only 26 followers, but all of these people are going to be exposed to these tweets. They're going to see the tweets. They're then going to go on and have a look at the price chart, see that it's rising up rapidly today, and they're going to buy themselves some Polygon as well, which is obviously going to push the price higher because as demand goes up and the supply is flat, then the price goes up unless there's way more and more supply being minted. So the reason why it's up so much today is because the hype is up so substantially. Obviously, it's up 106% this day, but largely is because the amount of hype and volume is up as well. Obviously, if we look at the volume chart, we can see back down here on the 23rd of May, the volume was fairly low. But then as we came up to the 24th and 25th of May, the volume has skyrocketed, which has also caused the price to skyrocket as well. As more and more people get on board, more and more people buy the coin, the volume continues to go up. People continue to tweet about it. More people continue to tweet about it, which means more people see the tweets, more people buy the coin, and it goes in a cycle. More people see it, more people buy it, more people talk about it, more people see it, more people buy it, more people talk about it. So I think that's why the Polygon coin is up so high today. I think it's tough to buy stocks, to buy coins when they are up so substantially on the day. With this current volume, I don't think it's going to breach past its all-time high. But obviously, if the volume continues increasing, the price is going to continue increasing as well. Glad you enjoyed. Thanks for the sub as well. in terms of my thoughts on Polygon, um, I think they've got a really interesting thought in the sense that they've identified the problems with Ethereum, the expensive gas prices, the time it takes transactions to be made in bits and pieces, and they've identified a solution. If they can obviously input that solution, it's going to be very good. But I think what they need to do is probably come off the Ethereum chain and create their own network, which they plan on doing. I think well, that says previously Matic Network, but I think if they come away from a Ethereum token and create their own token, it will take them away from Ethereum and make them unique. There's talk of a big event, Cardano or ADA Polygon Chainlink tomorrow. I think obviously there's a lot of hype around cryptocurrency at the moment. So yeah, absolutely. I've seen a lot of tweets about Cardano or ADA as well. I haven't specifically heard of this event. Let's see what we can find on Twitter as well. I'm just going to turn the light on. Just hopefully make it not quite as oh, that's much better. That's much better light on my face. Otherwise, it was very, very, very bright. No, I can't find too much on Twitter about that event. Interesting. Let's have a look at the SOS stock. This one, yeah. Wow, the SOS stock is continuing to fall quite heavily. I guess as Bitcoin has been falling recently, the SOS stock has been falling recently as well. I know SOS recently had a short report against it, but I think they've only been doing good recently. I think they implemented their third batch, third batch of crypto miners. I think that's $50 million of revenue at 500 million valuations and 10 times revenue to EBITDA. Tesla was at like 20 times revenue to EBITDA. So that's third batch. Yeah, third batch of mining rigs back in April. $5,464 crypto mining rigs. Yeah. In Q1 of 2021, they generated 42 bitcoins. Even at today's price, 42 times 39,000. 42. It's 1.6 million in revenues from Bitcoin for the first quarter, which is quite low. But 916 Ethereum, $2,000. Ethereum is much higher. AMC stock fell quite rapidly over the last kind of 10-20 minutes. Neo's continued to rise, which is good. Guys, if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the live chat, and I'll answer them. And always remember to leave a like down below as well. The more likes we get on the stream, YouTube pushes it to more people, so we get more people in here and more questions as well. Tesla's had a very good day today as well. Who knows? Yeah, maybe we are starting to enter the recovery phase for growth stocks and tech stocks. Obviously, we've seen quite a long period now of downward trajectory, so maybe this is the start of that positive trajectory, taking Tesla back up towards the $700 mark and beyond. Neo's obviously also had a good day as well, and seems to have kind of broken out a little bit of this downward cycle. Who knows? Maybe it'll be right back into the red tomorrow. CCIV's obviously had a flat day today, but saying that, Neo obviously had some very good news, which is why Neo are up so much compared to CCIV. Do you have any EV stock predictions for the next month? Good question. Obviously, hopefully for the next over the next month, I'd like to see Lucid Motors release their first, the Lucid Air. Whether that's going to happen in June or whether it's going to end up in in July, I'm not too sure. But it'd be really interesting to see if they can release it in June. What would happen to the stock? I think as those first kind of 100, 200 vehicles start coming out and going to customers, I think the CCIV stock could start recovering quite rapidly, especially as it's going to be going to a lot of car reviewers and authors, and not authors, that's the wrong word, but these kind of car shows like Car Wow and Top Gear are going to be reviewing the car, and it's going to get a lot of news attention. And obviously, as the stock gets a lot of news attention, it's going to bring a lot of traffic to their Twitter page, to their website, and ultimately to the stock. In terms of kind of Tesla and Neo predictions and XPeng predictions, I think largely they're all going to follow each other. Obviously, if Tesla goes up, the rest of the EV stock is going to go up over the next month. I think we have been in this kind of downward trend for quite some time now, since February all the way into May, June kind of area. So it has been quite a harsh 6 months for EV stocks and growth stocks as a whole. That I would like to see turn around. So maybe it's going to happen. Looking at Finviz again, Finviz again. Obviously, recently we have seen the financial services sector and the oil and gas sector doing really well. But I think, especially with this, massive green day we've seen, the whole of the tech sector as well is green today. So maybe it's that tipping point, and maybe the tech sector and the growth sector is going to start doing well again. But I think that's going to wrap up my first stream. I think the number of viewers is starting to go down. I think the number of viewers peaked at 20 concurrent viewers, which is really good. I think for my next stream, I'm going to try and organise some music, maybe come into the stream with a bit more of a plan of what to talk about, rather than just fielding questions. I think as the channel grows and as the stream grows, we're going to have more and more questions. So I will be able to do just a whole stream of answering questions, but I think maybe for the moment, need to come in with a bit more of a topic to talk about and stocks specifically to analyse. But thank you all for joining my very first stream, guys. It's been a really good experience. I've got a lot that I've learned and can put into practice for my next stream. I'm probably going to try and do 2 or 3 streams a week. So hopefully you all tune in for the next one. Thank you very much, guys.